Hello, everyone. Good evening or good morning, wherever you are. I hope you are having a nice and exciting day. Today, we will be working on the project that we left off, and we will continue to actually do some refactoring around it. We will have a stream around an hour. And in the meantime, again, like usual, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. The purpose of these live streams are to help you out and get your questions in, and in the meantime show you the thought process of refactoring or like real-time application development. So I will be like, I have not done any preparation on purpose for this, so you can see my thought process as well and how I am dealing with some problems too. And I hope you enjoy this. So if you're ready, let's get started. So let me share my screen. Let me move this bad boy here. Right. All right. So you can see that I have the application from the previous one is around here. Is it this one? No, it's not this one. Come on. The real one is this one, Amplify grocery list. And as you might remember, we were able to have authentication and many more other features working for us out of the box. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a lot of code cleanup, get rid of all the previous to-dos that we might have. And last but not least, we are going to implement a state management system while doing some application refactoring. Let me dim the light a bit because it seems it is too bright. I don't know, like this maybe. Okay, this is better because otherwise it feels like I have sun in my head. So I just do this maybe. Okay, anyway, so if you're ready, let's get started. So first things first, let me make the font a bit bigger. Increase font. Okay, font size, yes, please. One more, one more, one more, one more. I think this is more readable for you. So if you do not remember, let's go through what we have so far. We have add grocery item, we have finalized grocery, we have grocery list, and we have utility classes to help us out as well. So what we are going to do is we are going to refactor the stuff one by one and actually put this into the right place that they belong, at least in my opinion. So first things first, you can see that we are doing all these validations and all these like object creation and like basically literally doing everything here. We're doing it at the level of the UI. This shouldn't be the case in the real life applications. It depends on your team that you might think that, okay, this is working fine. Like, let's carry on with this. But believe me, this is not what you want. What you want is a way to actually create applications properly. So for doing it, what we need to do is we need to decide on a way to create, so use a state management system. This is one of the ways. You don't have to do it, but these are tools that are provided to you. So if you use it, it will work for you. If you do not use it, you can always create your applications as well. So there's no rule like you need to use state management for application development. It's a nice to have though. So if you are coming from the Flutter world, you can probably, you already heard about the state management. People are like, yeah, okay, you need to use this package, you need to use that package. Some people like my friend Joachim creating this package, which is which is the weirdest package. So behind the scenes, there's a super magic that you don't need to write set state at all. But all the joking aside, I'm sorry, Joachim, but please do not use this one. Anyway, so let's go back to where we are. So what we need to do is we need to pick a state management. We can use the classic one, the provider. Provider is the package from Remy that you can use to take advantage of the inherited widgets, which is the widgets that sends information in the widget tree. or you can use the new version of this called Riverpod, which is a library that helps you to access state anywhere. And the difference between Riverpod and a provider is that this is actually more relying on the Dart features than the Flutter one, so that's kind of cool. One interesting thing that I didn't know was actually Riverpod is an anagram of provider, they said. Let me check. Yeah, this is so weird. I didn't even know that. I was at a meetup recently, and someone in the meetup, like one of the speakers, mentioned that. I think it was a pretty cool information. Anyway, today we are going to talk about a different package, though. Today we will talk about Block. So Block Library is a library from our friends at Very Good Ventures, especially Felix has been working on this for a long time. They have created many packages that you can use on your Flutter applications, Angular Dart applications, and even many more, whatever you want to do. You can write tests, you can have the hydrated version of it, you can have the replay feature of it, which you might know from Redux, for example. In the simplest manner, you can also exchange this with Block, but basically what you need to do is you need to call the functions in your qubit. The qubit will take care of the business logic for you and all the things that you need to do for your application. All the UI related stuff needs to be just UI related, and the rest should be independent from the business logic. So whatever I had here, it was just for the sake of example. You should not do it this way. Let me make it even bigger so you can see the mistake that I did bigger as well. All right. So actually, it is looking tinier in the screen, so that's why I made it bigger. Anyway, so what we have here? We have many UI related stuff here. So first thing that we need to do is we need to actually get rid of the business logic that is happening inside this UI. How we can get rid of this? We can get rid of it in multiple ways. First thing that we can do is we can add some callbacks to this. This will make this UI, this view, dumber, and you should just feed the information that you have inside it. The advantage of this is that at the end of this, you can just feed this information into this and test this UI and test its behavior as well. Johan wrote, I love Zambia. Yeah, I know you do because you did the stateless. So I'm not so surprised. Anyway, so what we need to do is we need to actually, let's get rid of this big one first. This is the one that actually like doing the validation for you. In addition to this, it creates the model. It shouldn't do that. It creates the mutation object to send it to the backend. It shouldn't do that. And last but not least, it is doing an on item added action as well as the navigation as well. We don't want anything related to whatever we have here inside this one. So let's go back. You can see that we already have an on item added feature here. So what we need to do is we just need to get rid of this business logic that we have here, like copy the stuff out, not copy, cut the stuff out. First, go back to wherever we call this. Where is this one? Is this different? Why is it not changing for the whole editor? So, let's do it again. Yes, this is perfect. All right. So what we have here is that we already call this function in the line 82 here, which is an on item added. So we already have this functionality here. What we need to do is we will pass these stuff here, but you might be saying, hey, like this is still not what we wanted. This is not the clean architecture way, because you might, and you should say that we are still in this page, which is correct, but we will fix it in the next step. What we need to do is first we need to understand the fact that these two needs to come separately. These two needs to come like separate as well. And very importantly, we shouldn't just pass down a huge model right into the callback. What we need to do is we need to pass down the information that we are actually going to be using. So first thing that we do is we will say int count. We will have string item name, and we will have string grocery ID, right? So we have all the information that we need here. So I will just say, I will just get rid of this and say count. I will just say item name. And lastly, I will just say grocery ID. Okay. The next thing that you might be seeing is that the result here after the run mutation is actually relying on something. It says, okay, you need to wait for this to happen to get a result. Let's not deal with the result or anything right now. Let's keep everything as it is. What we need to do is, this is a future operation. Future means that this is an asynchronous operation. And let's keep the asynchronous operation happening by itself. And when it is done, it is going to tell us that it is done with a print that we are going to be using. And what we do here is that basically when the item is added, we will add it with the count, item name, and grocery ID and do the operations by itself. So I will go back to where I use it. I will go back here, and you can see that I was using a value setter for this before. What I'm going to do now is I will create something called type definition. And I will say that on grocery item, no, grocery item setter. I will just call this one, I don't know. And I will say that this is a function that is, like, actually let me do void function that is actually returning these properties. And I will put the semicolon here. And what I can do now is that I can just make this to use it. Have any of you used type defs before, type definitions before? In the meantime, I wait for your answers. I'm sure there are some folks who have not heard about it. What it does is it gets a type and it uses or passes it into a definition that you can express it. So I am expressing this function with 3 parameters with the name grocery item setter. Previously, I was using a value setter as well. The value setter itself is also a type definition for a type T. Like, it can be any type, and it is saying it is a void, a function that is not returning anything, function with a type that is defined here as well. All right, so let's turn this into a grocery item setter first. And it is saying that, okay, we need to have a result. I don't care about the result anymore. I also don't want to do this. If I need to, I will do it later on. And what I need to do is I need to get rid of an extra parenthesis. And now I need to actually provide the results. So you might be remembering that in the previous object, we created the count with the controller text, name with the item controller text, and the grocery ID was coming from the widget. So what I need to do here is that I need to give the items that are required here. So first one was count. I will still parse the count controller text variable. I will still use the name controller or item controller. This is the name that we are going to be using. And last but not least, we will do grocery ID as well. Okay, so for being consistent, what I need to do is I will first put the comma here, because if you see someone doesn't do a comma to the end of the parameters, please do not work them. And okay, there's a question. I really would like to answer that question because honestly, I like to keep this as interactive as possible. So the question is, hey, just joined. I've used typedef before. My question is, why do we use value setter T? In what scenario we need this specific value setter type? Why not just add a callback? It's a visual sugar at the end of the day. What you need to do is you can follow the best practices with the Flutter Teams approach. In the Flutter Teams approach, when you do use, for example, a radio button or like a drop-down list, you will see that they're using value setter as the type. At the end of the day, it is just a callback with a void function. You can use it, nothing will stop you. But for the sake of being more expressive, this is considered better. So this itself, like you can have void function in the type of whatever you want to have. But when you use value setter, you say that, okay, this function is actually doing a value setting behavior. So it's like naming a function, like when you name a function, you want to be expressive and reusable. This is what you do as well. All right, so let's go back. We have the grocery ID as well. Let's go back to this too. And this should also be grocery ID because we want to be consistent. We want to be good citizens. And since I didn't create this one because this has been created by the models mechanism of the Amplify, I will keep it as it is. All right, so right now we have a system that we can add a grocery item that seems to be working. So everything is going according to the plan. I will keep the problems on the files. There are some unused imports here that I can just get rid of it. You can see that like when I started to clear things up, I started to have no reference to Amplify related stuff here at all, which is a good start because at the end of the day, we would like to move things out of the UI. So once we're ready, I'm here again. So let's see it. Let's run this one. I'm curious where it is going to run. It is running on a Pixel 3a. I tried to get used to this new UI during this week, and honestly, it is just going to be more painful to learn these things. So I will just restart this to be able to, keep going with the live stream. So the problem is, I have been trying to learn it, and I still couldn't find the devices part of the new UI. It's weird. I'm sure people will be like, yeah, why don't you use the VS Code? But honestly, I cannot. It's like really hard for me to change my mindset after all these years that I spent in Android and Flutter as well. Anyway, so let's increase the font size in all editors. Actually, there's a nice shortcut as well, but I'm not going to do that. Let's do it. Perfect. All right, now it is more readable. So once we have it, let's go back to the macOS because if you might remember it, it is working with macOS. Yohum said, "You're just old." Yes, I'm just old. I'm not that old. Come on, I'm older than you, but not the oldest. Hey, Pascal, thank you for stopping by. Okay, as you might remember, we had the app. We created this user earlier on. You can see that we still keep the references of the list. We will say Apple B. You can see that I added the list item, but the window didn't close. So it is doing what it's supposed to do for the backend purposes, but it's not doing what I want in the UI experience part. Hey, Felix. Yeah, Chicago. Chicago is a really nice city. Cool. It's really nice to have like people from all around. Anyway, so like what we have right now is that we have like on item added here, and you might be remembering that, okay, the reason that we are not able to do that was actually because we have something on the screen. What we can do is we can either close it over here in the moment that the on item added is called, because we know that it is going to do an operation, or we can just do some magic as well. But let's not play around with the magic. We will say navigator.off build context.pop. Okay, let's keep this like this for now. Let's restart the application. The app restarted. I will just add orange here, all right, and say 5. Okay, now it is doing what it's supposed to do. All right, and Johan said he's from Netherlands because no one knows the city that he lives in, like it's unknown. He said he's going to a big city now. It's called Eindhoven, which is like smaller than my village. Anyway, so let's go back to the grocery item part. All right. So now that we somehow clear things up around here, you can see that we can pass down these like grocery item setter and the grocery ID itself. And we have a couple of things here we might play around later on. But overall, I do not see any important things that I need to take care of. I have this business logic here that to check the values, but I can move it later on. So the important point is first I want to move out from the API calls that I do. All right. So add grocery item is done. Let's go back to the finalized grocery item part. So in the finalized grocery item, we already have items on finalized and current grocery. So it seems like we are going to be getting rid of the things by using unfinalized, because when it's finalized, we will actually do some operations. So what we need to do is we can do several things. We can either get rid of the Amplify related stuff here and just fix the problems that we see around here, or we can just keep everything and pull everything one by one as well. It is up to you. So one thing to keep in mind is that we are not also going to keep things like this, again, like in this function that we have here in the widget as well. We are going to move things away. But anyway, so you can see that I have all of these stuff here, and like I have this weird error message and so on that we are going to be checking out. But first things first, let's get rid of all of these Amplify related stuff. So if the Amplify selected as a file, what we need to do is we need to give the total amount, the file key, the finalization date, the title, and all of these operations should move out of it. And this uploading and everything should be happening independently as well. All right. So what we need to do is we need to change the finalized on finalized part. So for that purpose, I will create another type definition just for, like for being fun. And we will say like grocery finalizer. Oh my God. I am horrible with name finding, but who is good at it? Like it's really hard to find. Anyway, so we will have double amount. Like this will be the total amount, right? And we will have a string title. It is going to have a grocery title for us. And let me go down. I'm getting older. And the file key and the finalization date. So we have a string. This file key is actually going to be the ID of the grocery. So I will just keep it as an ID and say string, not string. I will keep the date time and say finalization date. I really do not want to have anything related to the AWS here at all. So I will just put the grocery finalizer here. There's this unfinalized here that is going to be screaming at our faces. So what we need to do is we need to just keep these references here. So first I will get rid of this. If it is required, it is going to let us know anyway. So this is an async function. Let's get rid of this as well to, because we don't need that to be async anymore. And where was I? Yeah. And let's copy all of these things. No, actually that needs to be async because we will still select the file and we will say if mounted. This means that if, go back and check it out, you can see that this checks if the element of the state is still in the tree. So why you use named parameters? Yeah. That is an excellent question because I was too lazy. But, since you came all the way down from colon, I will do the hard work. Done. I just, I just wrote it while I was thinking about it, to be honest. But that is more readable because you can actually assign the variables directly with the names, so it will be better. All right, let's go back. And on the, okay, like you can see that there's a big problem here. And the problem is we need to let the analyzer know that all of these are required parameters. So before it wasn't thinking that way and it was saying that everything is all right with this, but it is not. So what we need to do is now we will say total amount is double dot parse. Normally, by the way, when you're parsing, there might be some parsing errors and so on as well. But what we do here is we are relying on the fact that this is going to work. These extra steps will be handled on later on. What right now, what we're focusing on is the refactoring part of things. So I have added the total amount to this. We still have the other. It's not showing me. Anyway, we still have the other stuff as well, like title ID and finalization date. So let's go back and do that. Title is going to be what controller that we have, title controller. ID is the grocery ID. And the finalization date, you might be thinking that what's going on, but we will pick date time now because, again, one more time, I'm not going to be doing anything related to the AWS. And this temporal date is coming from the AWS Amplify libraries. All right, so right now we have all of these here. I will just copy this stuff here and hold on. Yeah, this ID will be widget.currentgrocery.id. And I will, again, cut all of these out. And right now I have a file picker. And when the picked file is not null, then I am actually getting rid of the UI that is going to be sent out, and the finalized callback is called. And this Boolean is taking care of showing an error message or not. We can see how it works in a moment when I run the application. All right, let's go back and see what we have. As you can see, it is shouting to our faces because we are missing finalization date, ID, title, and so on and so forth. Anyway, so finalization date, ID, title, and amount. This is not the way. Amount, title, ID, and finalization date. Amount. Why it is crying? Okay, I will just get rid of this. I will say on finalized. And I will put this in here. And after it's crying, I will just first put this and say with on finalized, we need to have finalization date. Right. Like, I forgot. Live coding is nice, but at the same time, it can be kind of stressful every once in a while. Why is it shouting to my face? It says feature void, feature function, dynamic. Dynamic cannot be. Seems like name parameters aren't nice for callbacks. Yeah, it seems like it. Okay, I'm sure there's a solution to this, but you know what? Let's use it. Let's make a research about it really quickly. Why not? Type def named parameters callback. So okay, type def using named parameters and callback and dot, obviously. I mean, I wouldn't call 7 people a huge crowd, but there will be people who are going to be judging me later on as well. So, all right. So, By the way, if any of you knows if it's working or not, it would be nice. I don't remember or know at this moment, so I will just get rid of it and fix this thing around here and fix this, fix that, fix this as well. Perfect. And when I go back to my on finalize this, it is really happy that it is around here. So you can see that there are some things that we are missing, like the ID. I will just call this ID, and it is asking me to have the current grocery. What I'm going to do is I already have the grocery here, so I will use that as a reference. New grocery. All right, and we have the amount value here, the total amount. One more time, the ID, and the title here as well. All right, so we have the title, we have the result. I don't need to have the result, to be honest. Again, I will just run this. Okay, so we have a new way of doing things. We have the new grocery item, and that needs to be updated, not the previous one. And everything is in the right place right now, except the file path. I missed to put the file path. So what I need to do is I need to add a string file path here. All right, and go down here to the crying part and say file. One that I was needing early on, this one. I will just copy this, paste this here. You can see that it is giving me the file path, and go back and say file path here. All right, file path is here as well. Okay, so what we need to do is now, like, we need to just run the application one more time from scratch, but we cannot, because as you can see, it is still crying. It is saying that you cannot use it around here. So what we can do is we can just ignore this for now to see if it's going to work. So I'm just going to ignore this for now and update it later on and say that this is a placeholder. Placeholder is a widget that is provided to us by the Flutter ecosystem, and rerun the application. In the meantime, another question. Hey, couldn't catch what the issue was with named parameters, but have you tried that call and passing parameters there? I mean, the problem was when we tried to, let me go down. When we tried to get this callback here, we couldn't make it work. It was shouting our name and saying that, okay, what you're trying to do is dynamic, 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 even though it should have used type inference. It was saying that, no, these are technically dynamic, but what you need to have is the type definition that you created with the correct types. That is why it wasn't working. Anyway, let's go back here. We can see that if we can end the shopping. In the end shopping part, you can add a title like saying that fruits, and you can say that the amount is like, I don't know, like 90, because you can pick any currency that you want, but we know that it's expensive out there. And you can pick a PNG file to be uploaded. I just created a fake one. But now that I added, even though I created this, it is not getting rid of this list. For getting rid of it, probably we need to restart it, and it is gone. So we need to do some cleanup later on after this on this function. But at the end, what we can do is we can go back and see that the fruits are here. And it is saying that, okay, it's not the fruits that I want. By the way, just shouting. So maybe we can fix it later on as well. Anyway, where was this? This is the fruits that I created. You can see that it is here. You might be asking, hey, what if you're lying? I'm not, but let's do, for example, photos and do a count of 1. And I will say that, and shopping, photos, and I will say 1, 2, 3. All right. And I'm going to pick a random picture of me because, like it's always nice to look at yourself. And I can just, you can see that it is uploading still. It has uploaded. So if I go there, here, you can see that I have it. And now it shows my amazing picture at a conference in Milano. But you can see that it is shouting, so we can fix it later on. Anyway, so the problem that we had was we didn't, actually we were relying on the local items that we have here. And that is why when something has changed, we were doing items that clear. So at the end, if we do set state, say items clear, and that should be able to just clear out the items after all the operations are called in the local function at least. And I want to show if it is working nice on a mobile phone as well. So I'm going to run this on a phone, and I will be using Visor for this. And I don't want to use the Android Studio, but let's see it. And let's see if it's going to work on a real app. In the meantime, since I'm like 35 minutes in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple of new files and try to clean up the stuff for at least one of these features, so we do not need to do the same thing for 1 hour. By the way, if you have any questions in the meantime, that would be great. And in 22 minutes, our friend Joachim, who lives in Grassfields, will have a live stream. And after this, you can join him. And if you're looking for his name on Twitch, it's Wolfendra_in. I don't know what the in part is. Like I would know the Wolfendra part. Anyway, you can check out. He will probably do crazy stuff. So after seeing the refactor part, that would be interesting to see. Anyway, it is still assembling the debug version of whatever we have. So in the meantime, it is running this. I will keep this on the side, and let's go back to our project. So here's the situation here. For making the behavior, so for making the applications work, what you need to do is you need to create proper code mechanisms, right? And at grocery item view is right now dumb enough to, like carry on with whatever it needs to do. It has this validator and so on as well that we can carry on, but overall you can see that everything is working according to the plan. So what we need to do is we need to actually add a mechanism to get this business logic and put it into a place that it is going to be working while it is feeding us the status of it. And that is why I mentioned earlier using Qubit. How you can use it is quite straightforward. So you can check out either the documentation from them, or you can have, I don't know if they have the Qubit plugins on this one, but they have it on VS Code. If you do not have it, please have it. So I would just say block and check it out in the marketplace. They do. So that's nice. Okay, I will add the block one as well. So what we are going to do is we are going to use this to actually, okay, I will terminate the running as well. We will actually use this to create our blocks and qubits as well. So what we need to do is what we are planning to do is we will have a qubit for each UI, and each qubit will do operations for our UI as well. And they will return the state, they will return the answer, they will return the current information about the UI to us. And in the meantime, you will see that we will actually have a lot of changes in the way that we do these things, and it will become even dumber as well. So anyway, let's go back and create a new qubit class and call this add grocery qubit. All right, and you can see that when I created a qubit, it created a state property for me too. And what I can do is, for taking advantage of the block libraries and the power of preventing unnecessary recreation, it is nice to have a library called equitable. This equitable library helps you out to define the properties of the class, and it will take care of the hash code and equals overrides for you. Why is it is important? Because when you compare objects, normally you do not compare the objects according to the properties that it holds. You compare the objects according to the place, for example, they are in the memory. So that's why you need to get rid of these stuff. Anyway, so we have at grocery initial, which is like the first part of it. You can see that it doesn't have any function at all. So what we need to do is we need to add some functions that it can use. First thing that we need to do is we need to, where was this thing? We need to get rid of all this stuff that we have added here. It's not necessary, like we just need to get rid of it. So how we can get rid of it is that we will create a new item and we will say that void. I literally forgot how to write functions right now. Add grocery item. All right. Anyway, I want to name these better, so I will just get rid of this. Delete. Okay. Because these are called add grocery item. Okay. So one thing that is really important here is that you might be asking why you are using qubit and not block. And the reason is that qubits are easier. Qubits are easier to use for these kind of simple operations. You just give the information and fetch back the state that you want to have. Whenever you want to emit the state, you just push it down. So we are in the qubit right now. I will create a void. I will create a function called void add grocery item here. And I'm still not going to do any operation regarding to, okay, first, let me. Okay, I will ask you one question. Why it is shouting to my face that it is not recognizing block? I'm really curious if you are able to see my error because I know it right now. I'm really curious if my audience is also aware of what's going on as well. Okay, in the meantime, I will just go back to the pubspec.yaml file. And you know what I'm going to do? I will add the block library, which is 8.1.0 right now. I will just copy this from here and put this over here. So if you do not have the library, obviously you cannot use it. This is one thing. The other thing is you need to have the Flutter block as well. Flutter block is the helper library that you can use with your Flutter applications. It provides set of functions, set of widgets that you can wrap around and get the result of. And the beauty of it is that it is actually using it's actually using the provider behind the scenes / all the widgets from the Flutter ecosystem like stream builders. Okay, so we have Flutter block added here, and now it is not crying anymore. So I will just get rid of the meta package because we do not need that. I will also go back to my qubit as well. Everything is here. I will also go back to my state. I will just get rid of this. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to add another library from Felix called Equitable that I mentioned here earlier. So you can add the libraries in different ways. One of the ways that you can add a library is that Flutter pub add the name of the library. It will get the latest version of the library and add it to your project. All right. So it is added to your pubspec file, and you can see that 2.0.5 version is actually used for the equitable. And when I go back to my state, I will just say that it is extended from equitable, and it will say, okay, whenever you need it, you need to override the props. The important part is that if you do not want to use it, what you need to do is you need to do this here, and you can get, well, you can get this and put this here and say that, okay, when the item state is empty, I do not want to play around with this. So just do the props for me. But in my opinion, I think keeping everything abstract is more important because it will push you to be in charge of the props that we are going to be having. So for the initial, you might not be needing it, but for the loaded one, for the successful one, you might be needing some items, some objects in your application. All right, so we have the initial version of the um, state. As we need more, we will add more as well. So when we add a new grocery item, let's see what we need from the view that we have. So I will just say split right. So this way we can see what this thing is doing. And we can see, let's put this here as a, and we can see what this function is doing as well. All right. Let's go back to the qubit and say that, okay, I want to get this item and I want to do these operations around here. So I will just say future void, all right, and async here, okay, and put these operations here. First of all, I will get rid of this. I will get rid of this. This is something that I do not need at the moment. And what I need is I need to import this item. I need to import this function, and I need to import this function as well. And I do not even want to print something. This should just stay as it is for now. I will deal with it later on. So you can see that I have 3 unknown items, and these are the unknown items that I have around here. So I will just add these here and go like this. So you can see that I have add grocery item that is happening here. We can run the mutation here as well. And you can see that it is a future. And you might be asking, how am I going to know? How am I supposed to know that if something has changed, if something has been added? And this is the way that you're going to be using actually the other states. One state that we are going to be using is the loading state. So what you need to do is, okay, now I'm ready. I'm going to be loading these operations. So you will emit the state, which is the item loading state, all right? And from this point onwards, all the listeners of this block, of this qubit, will say, okay, I have received a new loading state. And this loading state will happen until I change the item's state change. And more importantly, now I'm able to actually send the information about either it is on success or it is failed. So what we can do is we will get the result and say, hold on, rotation. It's a create mutation, so we do not even need this. What we need to do is we need to know that which item has been saved, and if it is successful, it is going to create a result. So what we need to do is we will check if the result, if the item is not null, if the result is not null, then we will say that, okay, do success operation, else this means that something has gone wrong. So you do not need to do anything because we will know the error here and say do fail operations. So one said too blurry, cannot see. And let me try to make the font even bigger for you, and maybe it will help. How is it? Is it better now? What do you think, Dr. Xavier? Yeah, it would be okay. Perfect. Thank you very much, Professor X. So what we need to do now is we need to create more state. So first of all, we need to have a success and the error, the fail state as well. So what we need to do is we will create another class and say, okay, we have a success state success state, and what we have a fail or error state. All right. So error state should have final string error message, right? Like we need to have an error message that we need to deliver to our users. And for this purpose, we need to create a constructor and say, okay, we will create a constructor. It is not going to create a const because anyway. So what we need to do is we need to also provide this error message inside the props to be able to compare the different items. So this way we will be able to actually compare the different error classes and see which one is new, which one is old, and if they are the same or not. All right. So I have the error message. Also, what I need to do is I need to have a grocery item to be sure that I know that my grocery item is created. So I'm saying that grocery item, and we will create a constructor again for this. And last but not least, we need to provide the grocery item here. The important point here, we have the grocery item, right? But you cannot just give out the models like they are going to be working for sure. What you need to do is you need to either use the classes with equitable or any other library that provides you an hash code and equals override, or you need to do it by yourself. And how you can do it is you can see that either you can override it with any hash code that you can use with this toString function that is provided, or what you can do is you can override the equals operator. Let me check if I can find. Anyway, you need to override the equals operator to be able to see if the equals comparison in the way that you expect it to be. So since it is done for us in this generated file, we are not going to do it. If not, you can always use equitable and add the props property inside the class as well. All right, so we have the states right now. So let's go back to our qubit and we will say that emit add grocery item error state, and we will have the error here. This is the first thing. And in the situation of a success, we are going to be doing grocery item success, and we will provide result here. So as you can see, everything is right now aligned with whatever we want to do. This is totally independent from what we have. And one thing that we would like to do is we would like to add the items, because we are not listening right now, but we will listen in the future. But anyway, we want to add the edit item inside the items list later on. So I'm getting rid of this on item edit function because we are not going to be doing that. We are not going to be doing that anymore. We will use the qubit to do the operations, and when the state changes, we will act accordingly. All right, so let's go back to our add grocery item view. Okay, and we will just create the function here to be able to like call it directly, and I will just copy this stuff, add this here, get rid of the types because that is smart enough to understand the type in parents. Okay, so far we have everything running. Let's check if we have any errors. We have on item added here. I will do the same for it as well. Where was it? I will just copy this and paste it to that as well. So this will be also fixed later on as well. So no worries. I'm just going to be showing you how it's going to be looking like in one level. All right. So right now we have everything that we need, but we need to just stick everything together, and we have less than 5 minutes to do so. First things first, what we need to do is we need to let the widgets know that we have a block, we have a qubit that needs to be done. And with each step, with each change that we have, we would like to know that there is something going on. For listening to the changes on your block, you can do different things. One of the things that you can do is you can use a library called Block Builder. Block Builder is responsible for letting the recreation process of your widget know that something has changed with the states. Also, if you do not want to, like use Block Builder, you can also use Block Consumer. This is going to give you a side effect part to let you know that if a state has changed, you can do a side effect, or you can actually do like anything else, anything that you need. What I would like to do is, I would like to, for example, no, I want to keep the items as it is right now. I don't want to overcomplicate things. What I would like to do is I would like to create Block Builder, okay? And the Block Builder will import the package Block Builder that we have. And what we need to do is first we need to add the block, the qubit, add grocery item qubit here. And for the state, we need to add the base state that we have here. So the base state will be added because this way we can actually compare stuff according to what is provided to us. So right now we have the state here and everything, and in each state change, it is still going to show this. It is still going to show whatever we have. Are there anything like selected in block? So good thing is like block is also using like behind the scenes the provider capabilities. So you will have actually, let's go deep. You can have build when. This will control whenever you want to build. You will give a property in this condition, and it is going to be using it. So you have it actually. And thank you for the question. So in here, we have the block builder and everything. One thing about block builder and the block itself is that if you do not provide a block, it will automatically get it from the widget tree. So if you would like to add a new block to the widget tree that needs to be like reached out in the widget tree, down in the widget tree, you can provide it by using provider. But also you can give the block or qubit in here so it will know what it needs to do. But how you can create it? What you need to do is you can go here and say late final add grocery item qubit, or right, and say add grocery item qubit. And for example, in the init state, what you can do is you can say that add grocery item qubit, add grocery item qubit, that is created for you. What you need to do is you need to also dispose this qubit because it is using the streams. Yes, exactly. So it is using the streams behind the scenes. So you need to get rid of the streams that are used as well. You do not need to do this, but this is one of the ways that you can actually use the qubit that you would like to have as well. Okay, so we have the block builder and everything. What we need to do is we need to actually listen to the states that we have. So we can use the most beautiful thing. We will use the if statements. We can say that if state is add grocery item loading state. This is the most typical one, I would say. We will use a circular progress indicator, okay? If center const, else if the state is add grocery item error, then what we need to do is we need to show an error case to the user. We will say that, okay, like you need to text state that error message. So you can see that when you check if it is that, it is automatically getting a reference to it. So you can see that after this, it is this case. Which cases did we have left? We have the initial case and we have the success case as well. So what we need to do is we need to check if the rest of the situation, if it is a success state, if it's a failed state. So if it is a success state, what we need to do is we need to show the same UI at this moment. We can change it later on. If not, we will show something different. So, and lastly, what we are going to do is we will just say add grocery item qubit and say add grocery item. We will give the count item and grocery ID here. So it seems like it should work at this moment with some probably caveats, but let's see how it's going to be like. So I'm just going to copy this and paste this to the other one as well, so it is not jealous. So I'm just here. I will just add this one. All right, so we have everything here. And I'm just going to run this on macOS. And let's see how it's going to look like. If this works, we will slowly end the live stream, but we will carry on with this later on as well. Just let's see. I'm really excited. And because state management is one of the important topics, and I would like to actually teach you more about it. And tomorrow I will do another live stream around the same hour as well. So check out the check out my social media, check out any social media that I have. So right now the item will not work, so please do not worry about it. What I'm going to do is I will restart the app and it should work. I will just say keyboard. I just need a keyboard, for example, 1, and I will restart the application, and it did not work. So let's see what we are missing here. So when we add an item, it is going to change the state. I will say mouse 5. We are seeing that it is actually showing the loading state on this one, like for a second. This is nice, and it is doing the mutation. And let's check out if it's successful. For example, print result. All right, and say if it is showing the result properly. And say font here. We can see that it is actually working. So what we are having problem with, the state changes here, because we have the add grocery item qubit. The loading state is happening, but in the, I want to check something in the state of success state, add grocery item success state. I want to do something different. And in this chance of like anything else, I want to do something different as well. So this will stay as it is here. And what we are going to do is we will add the item to our list as well. So show dialog part, and this is the success part. I will just say set state items.add state dot grocery item here. So this seems to be working. Let's see. All right. So this is hello 4. All right. So if it is, so it is not in the initial state, we are sure about it. We are passing down the functions here, with the states here, so it shouldn't be a problem as well. It is creating it. We do not see any errors as well. I would like to check if we are calling navigator. We should not call this. Let's see if there's an error. So I will just say keyboard 2. Okay, it is saying that set state is called in some place. It's completely fine. This is on our end. So we are trying to call this, but it is not working. The reason is that we need to use another property called block consumer for these kind of side effect operations. So I will just use block consumer, and block consumer will have a property that we can use that is called listener. And listener context state, and we will say if the state is this, then what we need to do is items set state items dot add state item. Okay, let's see if it's going to work now. $3.42. Yeah, it added this. Yeah, you can see that everything is working fine. Okay, so this is what we needed. And right now, it is not the cleanest version. We will do more tomorrow. So keep coming tomorrow. And what we did is we have started off with the new block approach of this. We created some qubits. We have seen how block consumer works, block builder works. And we have seen that what we can do with the side effects as well. One thing to keep in mind is that, like, if it's working fine, what you can do is you can just call the pop from here as well. This will actually close the dialog too. So we will just restart it and say like 32 2. You can see that it is closed. But we will still do a couple of things along the way. Thank you for tuning in for 1 hour, 1 hour, 10 minutes. And this project at the end, when we clear things up and everything, it will be on GitHub. And I will share this branch as well. Right now, the starter project is already on the GitHub, the finished version and non-finished version as well. We also have the AWS Amplify content that we created for the live stream for the new version of the libraries as well. So check out those as well. And overall, we will fix a couple of problems tomorrow. Keep on refactoring. This is not a huge project. I'm sure tomorrow or so we will be done with this. Overall, again, thank you very much for tuning in and see you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.